Welcome to the Evolution Magazine live series. It is Thursday, July 29th, year 2021, and tonight we are broadcasting live from Happy Rock Farms in Kansas City, Missouri. Tonight we are here to share the stories of some former Missouri cannabis convicts and their celebration of release. With the Canna Convict Project CEO Christina we will hear about the most recent release of Robert Franklin, as well as appearances from Jeff Mizanskey, Seth Wiggington, and more. Our show will get underway in just a few moments, but first, a word from our sponsors. The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association has been our longest-running show sponsor, while providing quality education over many topics in partnership with area cannabis professionals. MCIA is dedicated to a free cannabis market to create supplies and prices that are patient-friendly, with initiatives to support adult-use cannabis, to protect home growers' rights, and expand the caregiving program. Go to mocia.org to learn about memberships, to learn about their certified caregiving program, and learn how to get involved. Thank you, MCIA, for being a show sponsor.
Getting a medical marijuana patient recommendation just got easier with Elevate Holistics. Using HIPAA-compliant telemedicine software, Elevate Holistics enables patients like you to receive medical marijuana recommendations from the comfort of their own homes. Here's how it works. First, visit elevate-holistics.com to book your appointment using our online schedule. Then complete the intake forms in our confirmation email. Finally, visit with the doctor using the link in your confirmation email. It's that simple. Book an appointment today.
Tonight's video is provided by Cat King Films. Check this out. Cat King Films is offering promotional content, commercials, training videos, wedding videos, and documentary-style video production at an affordable price. A free consultation comes with every project to ensure that it is personalized to your brand. Check out previous projects by exploring the different sections on the newly launched website at catkingfilms.com.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Evolution Live series. Tonight is one of my favorite show topics. We have the Canna Convict team here. We're going to talk about the celebration of freedom, finally, or at least we're getting there, slowly but surely. But before we do that, I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, MCIA, our longest show running sponsor, Flora Farms, and also Elevate Holistics. Without them, the show would not be possible. Speaking of sponsors, we have some great gifts for you guys tonight. Elevate Holistics has donated a free certification, so tag a friend in the comments for that gift. Also, we have 2 free gift cards to Flora Farms Dispensary. And then also we have 6 free femininity tests from, and then also 2 free potency tests from Green Precision Analytics. So if you're a home grower, popping some beans, we were just talking with Jeff earlier about the importance of being able to save that time of finding the mells ahead of time. It saves you the electricity, it saves you the water, saves you your personal time. So it's a great resource for home growers. So thank you, Green Precision Analytics, for donating that as well. They've been getting their door knocked down with calls ever since they've been offering this service, and if you're a home grower, you understand why. So thanks to those sponsors. And then, guys, I want to remind you, this is an interactive show. So we have, if you ask questions in the comments, James is going to put them up here on the screen for us, and we'll get to those. We'll ask Chris and Christina, who will be on the first half of the show, or on the second half of the show, we'll have some of the POWs they helped get out of jail. So if you have any questions for these guys, please put those in the comments. There'll be another box that James will put up that'll be for anonymous comments if you don't want people to know who's asking it. So that just participate. That's all we ask. Participate in the show. It helps things go a lot smoother. And so we appreciate you guys tuning in. And without further ado, let me introduce our first two guests. We have Chris and Christina from the Canna Convict Project.
Hey, what's up, guys? Tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So weird seeing you guys live in front of me right now. I'm so used to seeing you on the commercial break instead. So it's nice to have you guys here.
It's weird. So we didn't put a commercial break together today. So
yeah, it's like you're breaking out of the norm here for a minute.
Right.
Well, let's just start with let's start with the mission. What is the general mission for those that do not know, which I'll be very surprised if there's any that are watching that do not know you guys or what you do, but just in case, what's the mission statement here?
So our mission is to assist our Missouri nonviolent cannabis POWs, prisoners of the war on drugs, with their release from incarceration and assist them with their exit needs.
So what is the exit needs part? Because I think a lot of people miss that part of what you do.
So reintegration is complicated sometimes, especially coming out with felony convictions on your history. So we try to help them find employment. If they have housing needs, we've tried to get reintegration funding because obviously you come out and you have no money. There's a lot of different variables involved. Certain people need to get their license reinstated.
Driver's license?
License reinstated. Yeah. So pretty much anything along those lines. If they have any mental health issues that they want to address coming from a very traumatic environment back into society, we want to help them with that as well. So just pretty much anything that they need, we try to assist them with as best as we can.
And it's surely different with with each individual. Each person has different needs and they have different potential mental health issues and things like that. And so we're really just wide open arms. When they get out of prison, we want to do whatever we possibly can to make their life as easy as possible, and really welcome it on a welcoming foot. And the community has always steps up and really helps us out on that. So
that's awesome. Before we go back and dive in deeper to what you've done and what's up next and all that, can we go back and talk about when did you start this? Why did you start this?
So we've always been activists and supportive of cannabis reform, but to actually put our full effort into something really started in 2019. And we have Jeff Mizanskey, or I personally have Jeff Mizanskey to thank for that.
And by the way, he'll be on the second half of the show for those of you that are watching. So if you've got some questions for Jeff, he'll stick around to the second half. But sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, absolutely. Cheers to Jeff. Yeah. He's a wonderful human being, and I sat in on a social equity session at the MoCan BizCon in 2019, and he was up there.
I was there too, actually. Yeah.
He was talking about his experience and how there's still individuals who are incarcerated, and he was trying to raise awareness for that and trying to motivate people to get involved. And it really struck a chord with me. I was someone with a criminal justice background coming into a medical market, and I felt very insecure that I would find a place where I would fit. And as soon as I heard him talk about that, I was like, okay, we need to get to work. I started talking with a bunch of individuals in the industry, seeing if this was something that they would be supportive of and interested in getting involved in. And so that was kind of it in its infancy. And I originally wanted to just kind of do some shadow work because I didn't know if we would be able to do anything with this concept and if we would have any success or if anyone would really buy into it. But Chris had other plans, and he started talking about it and like putting it out there, and it kind of just spiraled from there.
It's so super important, and ever since hearing about Jeff's story years before he was released, we hear about somebody that's serving a life sentence for a nonviolent cannabis offense. It's absolutely ridiculous when you know that there's rapists, there's murderers, there's true criminals.
Who he's housed with, by the way.
Yeah, who he's housed with, but there are these true criminals that Jeff probably saw go in and out of prison, and so did a lot of these other guys that are sitting in prison. They see all these rapists and murderers going in and out, revolving just in and out while they're sitting there for a nonviolent cannabis offense, and it was absolutely inspiring. And once we saw the movement that was going on with Jeff's case, back in 2015, it really struck something with me that we're actually going to be able to do some change. We're actually going to be able to do something, and I was just an advocate, and she was just doing her thing. But everything lined up in the right timing, and we were able to put something together and actually make some change. And we're so glad to have a lot of the community involved with us, and Jeff Mizanskey on our board, because there are 40,000 other people behind bars right now, and they cannot continue to sit behind bars.
Is that just in Missouri, or is that nationally?
It's a rough estimate number, because we don't really know. There's a lot of trumped up charges on a lot of people's cases. There's a lot of gun charges that get added in because somebody had an antique gun of their grandpa's in a hidden safe somewhere, and they just they wanted to up the charges.
Stack it on, yeah.
Sure. And so, we know that there's at least 40,000 nonviolent drug or cannabis offenders behind bars in the United States right now, and not a single one of them deserves to be behind bars right now.
That's correct. Can I get a woo-woo in the audience on that one? Woo! All right. We got a few people in the audience tonight. I don't know if you guys heard that, but this is an important topic. We got people that are concerned about it, and they came here to watch the show, so thanks for everybody being here in the studio audience. Well, so now that's how it kind of all began. We began with you guys seeing Jeff Mizanskey's story. I was there. I saw it too at BizCon, and it's powerful, and we'll get to his story in the second half. But so let's talk about how many prisoners have you guys got out of jail?
Okay, so there's been 4 individuals that have been released that we've advocated for. Not all of them were directly released due to our involvement, but several of them were. And then one of them should have been released, Stephen Sutherland, but they let him pass in a prison hospital by himself. When we had hospice lined up, we had the chief medical examiner from DOC granting his release, and probation and parole wouldn't let him out, and they're like, he's not eligible for a parole hearing until August, and it was May, and it's like he doesn't have till August, and he passed a couple days later.
Wow.
But yeah, 4 of them have been released. Seth Wiggington was the first one, and then Charlie White, the 80-year-old blind man in federal, Chris Simpson, and now Robert Franklin.
So I was at all of those except for what was the older guy's name again? I'm sorry.
White.
Charlie White. So obviously some people like to keep things a little bit more private, especially when you're getting to, because he was an older guy.
Yeah.
So
he was pretty weary about having a crowd or
just being once you get to that
Yeah.
point where you're been mentally hammered so much by the jail system, and you just get out. Sometimes you just need to go into a peaceful situation and not have people around you. Other times it's a celebration,
Sure.
but like it is today. Today's a celebration. But he was the only person I didn't make to be a part of watching them come out of jail, and but the other 3 were just, it's so amazing to be a part of, watching somebody come out, or hugging somebody that's coming out, or just being a part of the energy
ever.
You can't even explain that moment. That moment is just
incredible. It's like, wow, this guy
when
just
Seth got out, and you saw him and Christina embrace, and you saw him and his son embrace, and him and his mom embrace, and when he embraced me, just the tight hugs. And when Christopher Simpson was released, he just came out. There's video of it, him just running around and just jumping and hugging me.
Yeah.
It was one of the best hugs ever. And
and we got video of that too. We'll play on the second half, so stick around. But yeah, hugs, fresh released hugs.
And when Rob got out, and to see his daughter sitting there saying, "Hey, that's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad," and everybody's like, "That's not your dad. That's not your." She's like, "That's my dad."
Let's tell this story all the way through.
Are we going to tell the whole?
Just that
should we
part.
wait? Okay,
Just that part.
Just
Can we
at least
just
seeing that.
It's your show. You do what
Okay,
you want.
so we're all waiting, and we're probably 30, 40 feet away, and there's like, we're still in like the reception area, and there's like the bars back there, and they brought him through a couple areas of security, and he was at the final checkpoint.
Yeah, we're like looking down the hallway.
We're looking down the hall, and we see
him.
them there with somebody, and his daughter was like, Chris was saying, was like, that's my dad, and even his mom was like, that's not your dad. And like everyone's like, it doesn't look like him.
So
she's
the
like,
backstory
that's his bald head.
We missed the backstory though. We missed the backstory. The backstory is that
she
didn't know. So
Yeah.
his daughter didn't know that he was getting out. They just told her that.
Okay, we told a really big lie, and everyone bought into it. We kept messing up, and we thought she was gonna find us out, but we told her that he was winning a prison award, and there was going to be an award
There's
ceremony.
awards in prison.
And we were going there for this award ceremony, and she believed it, and then didn't believe it, and then believed it, and then it all kind of
She
came
knew something was
together.
up at some point. I don't know when she was willing to admit it, but it was just amazing to
Yeah.
to see them embrace once he finally came out, and just to see the whole family, they were singing and enjoying
Singing gospel music in a
Yeah.
prison. I was like, wow, this is powerful.
It was so powerful.
And threatening him with inciting, what was it? Inciting a disturbance or something like that. They were trying to hold him back and saying they could still charge him with inciting a disturbance.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
Right,
gosh.
because-
Getting out of prison, let me tack one last thing on you before
Yeah,
we get
because
out of
nearly
here.
12 years for a single pound of cannabis was not enough. Let's add something else on.
Yeah.
And they-
Okay, sorry. We'll let him tell all that
There'll
story.
be more about
yeah.
that. Robert's here too. He'll be here on the second half, so stick around. So we've talked a little bit about the people you've helped get out or part of that process of. We know about what got you into it, but what's kind of coming up next? What's on the horizon for you guys? Like who else it's on your radar that needs to get out? What's any kind of other things that you guys are working on?
There are a number of things that we're working on doing. We're trying to really get the community to come together and let us know who else is locked up behind bars, because a lot of these guys and these men and women, they're nameless to us. Their families know about them. Their families don't think that there's anything that can be done. But if there's a nonviolent cannabis, if anybody out there has a nonviolent cannabis charge, and they, reach out to us, let us know, see if we can help. We'll do whatever we can. We don't know if we'll be able to help until we check out the case, but we don't know. There's no list out there, and so that's one of the biggest things that we constantly preach. Like, reach out to us, let us know who your family, friends, brothers, sisters, whoever they are, sitting behind bars. Let us know, because that's the only way we're going to be able to get the ball rolling.
So who we do know of currently that are Missouri-based, and it's a variety of state and federal, is Trevor Sauer, Nicholas Glayholt, Zachary Nutt, Anthony Bearden, and there's obviously a bunch that we still don't know about, and then there's a ton of individuals nationwide, but those are the ones that we're still advocating for, and it's always nice to put those that we are advocating for and are active to our inactive. As released.
So are these people, everybody, that was a lot of names you just mentioned. Are these all names listed on your website or Facebook page?
Yes.
And, and are they listed on how people can write letters to them or add to their commentary?
Yep.
Okay,
so,
that's all
yeah,
there on the, what's the website?
All their inmate numbers.
CannaConvictProject.com,
Okay.
and so it's got their inmate numbers, their location. If you have a JPay account, that would need to be created to email them. You can write them freely, though.
What about, I know there's some jails that don't allow like magazines, or there's like there's all
Federal.
kinds of different restrictions on
Federal
what you
and
can
state,
send them.
it's different on each different level, and each different prison might be slightly different. But
Do you guys help with letting people know that on the website as well, or?
We put some information out there. Like federal individuals, they can only receive a handwritten letter that's in blue or black ink. The state's a little bit more lenient, and I've been able to circulate a lot of evolution articles that I've sent and I've cut out of the magazine and sent it to the individuals. You're allowed 5 pieces of paper in one envelope. You have to send pictures separately. You can't have any cards that have glitter or glue or attachments or anything like that.
I've sent some packages to some friends back in the day that were in jail that they never got. So it's like, well, I didn't know to check. There's a list of things I could and couldn't do to mail them. So
Sure.
We had a huge learning curve. I had a lot of return mail. My very first package that I sent out to Seth, I had like a whole like to-do in there with like self-addressed stamped envelopes, and that whole thing came back, and there was like red marking everywhere, like you can't do this and that and da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, fine. So it's a learning process. Crash course.
But you guys are also, beyond doing all that stuff, beyond offering that information, you're also collecting signatures, which is how I think a lot of attention has been gained to some people that you've helped out by flooding the desks of Governor Parsons in this case with Robert, right?
Yeah.
So is that something that's only needs to happen when it's a case that needs that clemency, or is that something you can do for all of them that would help?
Sure. I mean, you can always write and just say that you're supporting their release, but these individuals had a clemency on file, and these were not petitions or anything like that. They were just letters of support of those pending clemencies.
Okay.
And some of them had filed for clemency multiple different times, and 3 or 4 different tries, and just showing any of that support, I think benefits anybody, and just getting the names out into the community, where even potentially into the media and stuff like that, can really start to press on some of the bigger names, like the governor, and like people, when you're talking with Quentin Lucas, the mayor and things like that, you really start, pulling on heartstrings. You really start reaching a lot more people, and I think that just all of it in the community together makes it all happen.
And everyone wants to get involved, and a lot of times I struggle with finding ways to advise people on how to get involved, and that's one way that they can. Just putting your name on a piece of paper makes them feel like they're doing something, and you are.
Right.
So let's go through those things. What are all the things that you can do? We've mentioned a few of them just then. You can write letters. You can
put money on their commissary.
Put money in the commissary. What else? Let's go through them real quick. Just recap on that, because I think that's the important part of what people can do.
Oh gosh, you guys always I don't know. There's so many.
All right, let's start with putting money on commissary. You can write them letters of support to say, hey man,
you're not forgotten. There's a whole community out here, and we're
it is to get letters in
you.
jail. Like to get a handwritten letter if in jail is like gold.
Right.
And we can always use donations, because there's always something that we need for money. I mean, just communicating with them. We buy the stamps even on JPay, so that they can send an email back to us, and we click the little box so that it gives them a free communication back to us. Putting money on their books so they can call us. A lot of what I spend my day on is just communication between the individual, between their mom, their dad, their kids, just like the community with additional resources. A lot of communication happens, and just we can use funding in a lot of very good ways. It's not going to us. All of it goes straight back into the project.
Yeah.
A lot of these folks have kids and things like that. So I mean, if people want to reach out and help sponsor a birthday, or help help out during the holiday season,
the family at home,
like we bought them Christmas presents. The individuals with kids this year, we bought their children presents, and we asked the parents, what are your kids into these days? And we want to make this not from us, but a gift from you to them. So stuff like that.
Nice. So it's obviously a nonprofit. I think we've covered that. You guys aren't in the business to be making money off of anyone in the situation.
No.
It's a lot of voluntary time you guys put up.
We spend a lot of money. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't make any money, but we. I mean, this is all from the bottom of our hearts, and just this is definitely something that we feel passionate about, and we have for a long time, and long before the cannabis industry ever came to Missouri. We're into social justice and into advocating for cannabis and all this type of stuff. So it just took a few small things like Jeff Mizanskey and a few other things in the industry to really help kick us into gear, and
Light that fire.
Yeah,
and
or like a Jenga stack. You just pull out the right ones, and then the rest will get out.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's been a amazing journey. We just want to continue spreading that word until all of these people are finally free and their families get to see them again. Nobody else is wasting away behind bars.
I don't think they understand, though, because when I talk to them, and I talk to them frequently, those who are incarcerated, and I'm like, I'm out here making you a superstar. Everyone knows who you are. They know your face. They know your name. They know your story. I don't think they really understand what that actually looks like until they get out. And then they're like, oh my gosh, like people do know who I am.
Yeah.
They do sympathize with what I went through. The support is real.
Yeah. We actually, so everybody knows you guys do our commercial breaks. It's been going on for a while now, pretty much almost since the beginning, I think. I can't remember exactly, but pretty close to the beginning. And then Robert Franklin, you guys had a couple of live what seemed live because you scheduled a phone call with him, you recorded it on your phone, and then we played it back on our commercial break. So it came across as you guys were on a live call from prison with Robert, and that was impactful. And hopefully we can keep doing more of that with others you were helping. But it was actually that had him on the second time on the show. You guys were talking to him on the commercial break, and it was the very next day that you guys found out that Governor Parsons granted him clemency. Not to say it was a show. It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't always the show.
Was
I'm
it?
just saying it was
No,
the show.
it was the same exact day. I think. I was thinking it was the day of the show.
It was the next day.
Oh, was it the next
Yeah,
day?
it was the next
day.
But it was amazing. I came in the house. I had just gotten off work. I came in the house and I look back and I see Christina just bawling her eyes out, just this ugly cry, like she's so just. I'm like, what is wrong? Somebody died. Like somebody obviously has passed away. Like, you know, what's wrong? What's wrong? She's like, Robert's granted clemency. And I'm like, no effing way. And it was just like, I mean, getting goosebumps just even talking.
When you called me, I was like, cloud nine. I was like, whoa.
Right. I mean, it was such an amazing moment, and just to hear him reiterate it and just see that moment, you know, that was a special. It wasn't as awesome as seeing Rob hug his daughter, but next to that was the moment. It was so amazing to hear that. It was just like, man.
The only moment that beat that for me was the gospel singing and him, and then that was
amazing.
higher to me. Like that was
Right.
like.
I cried just as ugly when Seth's mom called me at work and everyone's coming back from court and they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, no, it's so good. I'm like, it's good. But it's, you know, I take these strangers into my heart and like they become my family and my friends, and like my kids know about them. My kids know about their kids and their family, and like they become a part of our life. And I actually kind of have withdrawals once they're released.
It's like, oh, what do I do now?
I know, like, who am I going to talk to now? And like, I'm used to calling Dina or Jamie and like, what are we going to do? We're going to try this next. And like, we're not giving up, and like game planning. And like, I kind of have withdrawals from it.
Right.
I mean, I got the other guys and I'm working with all of that, but I'm not going to lie. I miss them.
Yeah.
And we've been lucky that Seth getting out, Rob getting out, Chris getting out. They've really wanted to stay on the activist side of things. They've really wanted to help propel further people getting out. A lot of their brothers and sisters that they know behind bars, and Jeff obviously wanting to stay involved and keep the advocacy going because they know this is bullshit and we have to get these people out of jail. And so we just everything happened for a reason. Everything is happening at the right time, and we have got an amazing group of people, an amazing community, amazing team here at Canna Convict Project.
That's the key.
Joni Harshman.
It's not just us.
She does so much for us with Harshman Law. She does so incredibly much for us. Tim and Testimony.
Should be on in the first half. Stick around.
Chris Wolfenbarger, Stephanie
Wolfenbarger,
Burton, Jeff Mizanskey, Chris Mizanskey. Who are we forgetting? We said Tim.
Tim.
We said Tim.
Oh, you said Tim. Okay.
Yeah.
Dolores, of course. She was supposed to be on the show tonight
Oh, my
We wish you
love
could
you.
Dolores. Well, we'll get her on the next one. I'm sure hopefully this will continue until there's no longer a need for any of these live shows, right?
That is the goal.
yeah.
Like I say that all the time. Our job is to put ourselves out of business.
Yeah.
I don't want to have
It's
this
a good goal to have.
conversation forever. There needs to be legit change.
A real change.
A real change.
Sweeping.
So right now it's just the old starfish to the sea, which the old saying of there's a guy walking along a beach and there's just millions of starfish all beached in the sand. He's throwing one back at a time in the ocean. This other guy walks and was like, "What are you doing, man? You're not going to save all these." He's like, "Well, picked it up, threw it out. It mattered to that one.
Save that one.
Yeah. So
Right.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the wave.
Exactly.
And so I mean, as much change that we can be for however many that we eventually help out, we hope that we can at least encourage more people to get involved, to want to help out people in their community, whether or not be in this area of the state or the country. Reach out and help out. There's so many more issues that need to be tackled, going on all over the place. We need to advocate for the people that are rioting right now in some of the jails and prisons. We have people that don't have air conditioning right now. It's 100-something degrees outside today.
That's just insane.
We got people sitting behind bars for nonviolent cannabis offenses or other drug offenses. They don't have air conditioning. They ran out of clean water. Their water is so full of so many different chemicals and so much different contaminants and hard water. They're bringing in just jugs of water for 40, 50, 60, 80 inmates.
So we got a message anonymously that in one of these facilities here locally, their water is so contaminated that they're bringing in 5 whatever,
like the
buckets,
office or the office jug thing,
for like 70 people. For 70 people. Okay, so I made a little list because we've gotten a lot of information lately about a lot of horrible, deplorable things happening in our prison system right now. Some of it's anonymous. I do want to first touch on something that's happening to one of our guys personally, and that's Trevor Saller. And
where's he being held at?
Trevor is in Algoa in Jeff City right now. And so they have an air conditioning unit that is broken, and all they have to do is fix it. And they're choosing not to fix it because they're horrible human beings and they like to torture people. And they are not fixing it. And all of his housing unit 5 right now, pretty much as a whole, is in the hole.
They are in the hole as a whole, sweating their whole balls off.
He's suffered from heat sickness. He got accused of being intoxicated. They gave him a UA. It came back clean. He's still in the hole. His mom, everyone else's family members are calling constantly and raising issues like, you're not giving them ice. They're sweating to death. They're suffering from heat sickness. And so what happens is they don't take it out on the family because they can't. So they take it out on the inmates. There's other.
They enjoy doing it. The people that a lot of those people in those positions, right? They're there because they get to do that to people, and it's absolutely sickening.
Oh, it goes on. It goes on.
It's like a whole other level of evil.
Right.
So in other locations like Tipton and OCC and in Maryville, there's a variety of issues there. Some of them are short-staffed, so they're shipping some of the inmates off to other facilities and putting them in like these back corners that are like oven-like conditions. What else? One location, the guards came in because there was, disgruntled inmates. They start flipping beds, they start tearing up people's pictures, they smear peanut butter and cheese on their hygiene products, on their bedding, on their clothing, and they're doing contraband searches. There's just
it's torture. It's absolute torture, and it's inhumane. For nonviolent offenses, for so much of our prison populations in this country to be locked up, not just for necessarily a cannabis offense, but for a nonviolent offense where there was no victim.
They're housed with violent people,
right.
So
they're
what
turned
they're
into
doing,
criminals, and then they're treated like animals, and they're just
turning up the heat on these people, and then they're like, "Why are you reacting poorly? Let me smear peanut butter all over your stuff."
This is correctionalism.
Pouring soda on stuff.
That word should no longer be used with prisons.
It's an absolute abuse of power.
Yeah, that's. All right. We need to lighten this conversation up a little bit.
I know that because this is why we're so passionate about it. They're getting their JPay taken away. They can't get to the phone. They can't get to the email. They can't let everybody know what's going on. So it's our responsibility to let everybody know.
Yeah, don't kill the messenger.
all right.
Yeah.
Do we need to protest at DOC's headquarters in Jeff City?
I mean, you tell me. Who do I need to call?
Let's be peaceful, but I'm thinking.
All right, so get out there, raise awareness. If this is something that bothers you, start researching into this. Start contacting some of these wardens. Start contacting some of these prisons. Start just do whatever you can. Just show your outrage. Just don't be violent.
Yeah. Nonviolent protest, that's fine. That's something that we're all given being able to do as citizens. We can do this. and it needs to be done. And it's been being used as a tool a lot more these days than it was, and people see that as a bad thing, and sometimes it does get bad. But it's not. It's important for that to happen. Otherwise, certain changes would never come about.
Sure. And so,
we have to be the voice for the voiceless.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So we got a little bit more time here before we want to go to a commercial break. Do we want to bring Joni on?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Joni, you want to come over? So Joni Harshman, you guys probably know her. Very well known here in Missouri with her. She's a lawyer. She donates a lot of time as an activist and does a lot of pro bono work for cannabis offenders and people that are getting even arrested since it's been made legal here in the States. You help those people out. You help correct a lot of the police officers. I've been in a lot of trainings with you with certain police officers to help train them on the new laws and to help sort of bring patients together with police officers in a very peaceful way of education on both sides. But you also are on the board with the Canna Project. Welcome, Joni. What's up?
Thank you, Clay.
Yeah. So, give her a hand. Come on, everybody, round of applause. That's Joni Harshman.
Thanks for having me.
So, Joni, what do you do for the Canna Project?
I try to do whatever I can, whatever they ask. Obviously, I think all of us, especially in the industry, with getting it off the ground, are extremely busy, and we have a lot of great ideas and a lot of things on our to-do list that we can't always get to.
Yeah, because you're donating your time. No one's
Yes.
paying any of you to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Just, it's just an amazing mission and an amazing organization. And going to Robert's release day was a brand new experience.
That was your first time?
For me. I wasn't able to make it to the other releases that the Canna Project has supported, and so tears in my eyes, and having emotions that I've never had in my life, and it feels absolutely amazing.
It's motivating, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I think there's so much that we want to do and so much we want to accomplish, and sometimes something comes up that becomes more urgent and we kind of have to put something else on the back burner here or there. But luckily there's several of us, and even if some of the other board members, like Tim, one of the other attorneys, is so busy that and Stephanie that they aren't maybe at all of the events as often as we are, but they are working their asses off behind the scenes, and we completely appreciate everything that they do as well. So just trying to balance the advocacy work with being a solo attorney, running a small business, children / heathens to keep in check as well. It's a lot, and people, if I had $1 for every time somebody said, I don't know how you do it. Well, you know what, folks? I'm really not doing it. I dropped the ball. I dropped the ball here or there. It happens.
Everybody
we
does.
just have a lot on our plate.
It's not about how many times you drop the ball. It's about how many times you picked it back up.
Right.
Yeah.
I nicknamed our to-do list Hydra because every time we check one off, 2 more tickets place. It's serious. We are always we're going to be better next month, and we're going to have more time to do this, and then 2 more things take its place.
It's a never-ending ocean. So let's talk about what are some of those. What's on the most recent checklist, or the ones that are highest priority right now?
Well, so with
beyond just the people we just talked about getting out and all that, what is there anything else that's on the priority list of
probation and parole?
So probation and parole. So you're gonna fight. What? Tell me what's up.
Well, so actually, I'm not the lead attorney on this case, and that's kind of a relief. I will certainly step in, and we'll all support in any way that we can. But Tim, in testimony, is the lead counsel on a case fighting the probation and parole issue. We have collaborated on a number of legal issues, and I certainly did weigh in and send him, the information and research that I gathered, and when we were working on Raymond Breer's case, and but he's taking it to a whole nother level, and he has a case that it was the ideal case when you're looking to get to a higher court and how it actually sets some precedent with case law. You need the Court of Appeals or the Missouri Supreme Court to take the case and rule on it. Certainly any decisions by a circuit court are very, they are influential, they are persuasive, but other courts don't have to follow those rulings. But if a higher court makes a ruling on an issue that is the same as another case that comes along, the circuit court would have to follow that higher court's decision. So we're really excited that we have this case, and actually I referred it to Tim, and and we've been collaborating and communicating on the status and the updates. So it's an ideal case where there is a petitioner, because Tim filed a petition for declaratory judgment. So we are asking the state to acknowledge and recognize that someone on probation and or parole that has their medical marijuana card should not be violated for a probation violation for whether it's admission of use or a positive UA that they were required to take. And so he is challenging that. And that is a very, very common inquiry that our organization
us as well. We get emails all the time. And just to recap what you just said, as of right now, patients cannot have a medical card and be on parole, or you're just trying to get them to give you clarification on that?
It's very personalized. It depends on your PO and the prosecutor and the judge. We're looking to get binding authorities statewide.
Yeah. But so you said it starts. You said Tim put. So you have to forgive me. I'm not a lawyer. Neither are our viewers. So break it down.
Lucky you.
So there's little circuit courts, right? And then there's upper levels of higher courts, and you need to make sure that you go to the highest one locally, like in the state level, to get them to say it's okay for people that are on parole to have a medical card and use cannabis and not be tested and violate probation.
Well, they can have the medical card, but it's the violation part.
They should still have to
violated.
have their card if they're going to do it, right? At least that.
Yeah.
But at least get the doctor's approval and have the card. Because right now, has anyone said that it is or isn't okay? There's been no clarification statewide on what?
Not from the top down.
Not from a higher court.
Who would that come from, though? DHSS? Is that a DHSS decision that needs to say, here's how it is, since this is an amendment to the Constitution?
Well, DHSS couldn't make an amendment to the Constitution.
Well, I'm saying, is there anything in there that would allow them to be able to do that?
I believe so, yes. And I've already been making the argument in a number of my criminal cases that I've handled for possession and distribution, mostly felony charges, some of them misdemeanors, that per the DHSS rules, Article 14, and existing Missouri statutes, that when it comes to an allegation of a patient being non-compliant, that DHSS should be the sole and only and or at least the original jurisdiction to handle, review, and decide whether a sanction or a penalty is appropriate, not the county prosecutor.
Yeah.
Because there's language in those different legal authorities that all point to that. And that's something that I've reiterated to a number of criminal defense attorneys, that we all want to be making this argument, because that's much more appropriate to be dealing with an administrative agency where potentially your penalty or sanction is having your patient card suspended for a year, or possibly more. It could be revoked lifetime potentially, but as the rules stand right now, that would be if you were illegally distributing, cannabis. But generally, say if you were, like on the majority of cases I have handled, criminal cases, if they're alleging it wasn't labeled correctly, or the law enforcement officer possibly calculated the weight in your maximum possession amount incorrectly, but they're still being charged, even though they acknowledge that they have a medical marijuana card. Those are all issues, in my legal opinion, that DHSS should be dealing with, not the prosecutor.
Oh, I totally agree. Oh, yeah.
But,
I mean, that's 100%. And because the problem with the court is, unless something has set precedence, no one else is going to risk their position in wherever judge seat they hold, right?
Exactly.
Kind of. I mean, it depends. Some people, like some of the judges here in Kansas City, I mean, they're like, I'm not going to risk getting,
it's slow. It's slowly but surely, but it's like, but on the bigger,
smaller jurisdictions.
Yeah, all these small rule courts are like, oh, I don't want to mess. I don't want to lose my judge position. And I'm not going to be the first to say that, or first to do this, or first to step up to this.
Exactly, and then they know, and they have acknowledged, just like Raymond Breer's judge acknowledged on the record, that if they make a favorable ruling and allow a probationer or a parolee to medicate pursuant to their medical marijuana card, that it's going to open the floodgates for all these other cases. It's ironic and hypocritical that it is the state of Missouri that gave them their medical marijuana card, and it's the state, that same state of Missouri that is now violating them and sanctioning them with criminal liability for utilizing their constitutional right to medicate pursuant to that card. It's ridiculous. It's been an interesting journey. There's definitely been some activity and a lot of talk on the issue. My understanding is that in the beginning, the judicial, judges, prosecutors, probationers, they really didn't know how to deal with it, and I think they were presumably told, okay, we'll take it on a case-by-case basis, and the probation officer can kind of make the call if they have their medical marijuana card, whether they're in compliance and whether they're going to allow it or not. So it was really just kind of a case-by-case basis, because I would hear some inquiries where they were being told they couldn't, and then in other counties they were told they could.
Yeah, there was tons of confusion early on, and nobody knew what
it still is.
Going on.
And then, interesting enough, like right towards the end of Raymond's final probation hearing, there was a letter that went out from Jefferson City, that the head department of probation, Missouri Probation and Parole, that was a blanket letter basically telling all the other offices, okay, you can't just discretionary decide on a case-by-case basis. From now on, we're not going to supervise any probationer or parolee that asserts their right to use medical marijuana. You will have to write that up as a citation and a violation. Well, the actual violation would come from the prosecutor actually filing something with the court. And what happened in Raymond's case is what I've experienced in the majority of all of my cases, is that there just is obviously a lack of self-education, or another government entity coming in and providing that education of Article 14 and DHSS rules as it applies in these situations. And they don't want to be the first ones to make, as you said, to be making that first decision, and then have a line out the door of medical marijuana patients that they're supervising that want to, make sure that they could follow suit. And it was interesting that Raymond's case took 3 probation hearings. Yeah. Because the judge
you left out the part about where they said in open court that probation is a privilege, and that they may not offer patients probation in the future.
Well,
that's
and that's interesting, because it is true. When probation is also kind of in the legal world.
I understand that it is like, hey, here, you got to do this. We're letting you out. We're letting you
out. They don't have to give you probation.
We don't have to let you out. We're going to let you out, and you got to be our bids for a little bit. But the problem with that is that the people that are getting out are the ones who are the most psychologically damaged and need cannabis the most.
Oh, yeah. I had a judge say something very interesting in Polk County, down in near Springfield, Bolivar, along those lines. And I just had to bite my tongue. But because probation can be viewed as a contract. You can contract away your constitutional rights. If you agree to probation, but you're not going to be able to, possess a gun or travel out of state without permission and checking in, those kind of things. You can contract that away so that you stay out of jail. However, I feel like this constitutional right is in a whole nother category because we're talking about medical treatment.
Yeah.
Treatment that gets people
You want
off
me to get better?
of pills.
Do you want me to get
Right.
better? I mean, do you want me to get better? What's
Exactly.
going on here?
And I had a judge down in Polk County say, because we dealt with the probation issue, and here again, the prosecutor didn't want to deal with that. He was only concerned about the driving violation, driving without a license. And so he really didn't even raise the issue that was initially filed on the violation of also having a dirty UA, even though after he'd already obtained his medical marijuana card.
That's a
And
urine
then
analysis for those don't
Right.
know the acronyms, but
so then
just make
I
sure,
wanted to clarify and try to get permission or in the order from the judge for him to be able to medicate going forward, and that any future positive UAs would not result in another probation violation. And the judge basically said that he was going to decide on a case-by-case basis. He proceeded to tell us some of his horror stories of marijuana defendants. But he basically said, well, I think that there's other pills and prescription medications that you could probably be utilizing rather than smoking weed.
that's the whole
so sad.
That's the whole stigma of the icing on the cake of what they're feeding everyone is they're just so
Go
far
back to big
so
pharma.
far
Yeah.
back
And
to
how many
stigma.
people have
With
those pills?
addiction.
They're being mind corrupted by other people for way too long, and so
Yes.
I see a question coming in. We are running behind schedule for the commercial here, so we'll take this one question. We'll take a little commercial break unless another question pops up or unless we're backed up on questions. James, are there a lot of questions we got to get to?
No.
Okay, so
answer
this
is
first question says, are cannabis patients being arrested in Missouri now? I think we kind of covered that. We said there's a lot of confusion initially, but now here we are. There's still, are you still taking cases on a day-to-day basis right now? Is it in rural areas it's mostly? Is it people that just don't know the rules, like officers that just don't understand all that's still happening? So the answer is yes.
All of the above.
All over.
In the last year and a half, I've obtained 12 dismissals of possession and
Nice.
distribution of
Yeah, woo!
cannabis
Whoa.
cases.
That's what.
Just too busy to post about it.
But sometimes you got to revel in your wins, and so congratulations for doing
It
that.
makes me feel good.
Yeah. Good job with that. And before we go to the commercial break, I just want to let everybody know that we're not like anti-police officers by any means. In fact, we work with police officers very closely to try to educate them, right? So it's not about saying, F the cops, Sometimes you may jam out to some NWA or, whatever you want to do. Sometimes you need that release, but we're talking about in general, it's better to educate both sides, and to bring them to some conclusion and some similarities, some similar roads, at least, otherwise there's not going to be any correction ever, right? You can't just always go the full on riot mode. You got to go on, let's teach them some things and riot peacefully.
Absolutely, and I think we've all experienced that law enforcement that we have communicated with and worked with so far have been, very happy to have, people in the industry and organizations that are willing to share the education and the information because they're not getting it from someplace else, and they would much rather know the law and not waste their time on, a stop and then just to find out later that they shouldn't have arrested that person, and then that isn't a good feeling for them. They want to be doing the right thing. So it's a very good thing if we can come together and get on the same page. It's going to be a win for the patients to not be, unlawfully harassed and have to deal with a legal case, and obviously save some time, effort, embarrassment potentially
Money.
on the law enforcement.
Sure.
side of
Money
it.
for the
Yeah,
individual charge.
Money, resources. I mean, they have outdated tests. They have outdated dogs. They have outdated mindsets in a lot of cases in rural areas. So there's a lot to overcome.
You know, and Gene Peters just made that announcement to the KCPD that, you know, kind of encouraging and asking that they redirect and do not to focus on drug cases and to focus on violent criminal cases.
I mean, I'd much rather not be murdered as opposed to having some guy that's too high in my front yard. Get here,
Exactly.
guy.
Exactly.
All right, we need to take a little break. We're going to check in with, actually, I'm so used to saying we're going to check in with the Canna Comic Project, but they're already here. Here we go. So we don't have no Canna Comic commercial break. We're going to just take some commercials. I got to go to the bathroom. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back here shortly with the POWs, the guys that got out. We're going to have that conversation. So stick around. We'll see you here shortly. Peace.
The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association has been our longest-running show sponsor, while providing quality education over many topics in partnership with area cannabis professionals. MCIA is dedicated to a free cannabis market to create supplies and prices that are patient-friendly, with initiatives to support adult-use cannabis, to protect home growers' rights, and expand the caregiving program. Go to mocia.org to learn about memberships, to learn about their certified caregiving program, and learn how to get involved. Thank you, MCIA, for being a show sponsor.
Getting a medical marijuana patient recommendation just got easier with Elevate Holistics. Using HIPAA-compliant telemedicine software, Elevate Holistics enables patients like you to receive medical marijuana recommendations from the comfort of their own homes. Here's how it works. First, visit elevate-holistics.com to book your appointment using our online schedule. Then complete the intake forms in our confirmation email. Finally, visit with the doctor using the link in your confirmation email. It's that simple. Book an appointment today.
Hey everybody, that was hang on, we're getting this down. Here we go. We got it all worked out. That was a really quick break. And thanks for sticking around. Normally you guys wait a lot longer because we have a commercial that we get to go and relax a little bit. We didn't get that this time, so we are back hot and live here. Welcome back. By the way, before I get going with these guys here, don't forget, tag a friend for the giveaways. We got 6 free femininity tests and then 2 free potency tests from Green Precision Analytics. We also have 2 free gift cards from Flora Farms Dispensary and a free free certification from Elevate Holistics. Tag a friend. You can tag as many friends as you would like to enter them into that competition, and yourself as well. So yeah, ask questions, guys. Get those questions coming because we have 3 of the POWs here that Canna Convict has helped get out of jail. So we'll go here, start with who's here left next to me. We got Seth Wiggington as he's getting mic'd up. I'll help him with that mic here shortly. We got Jeff Mizanskey here, and we got Robert Franklin. Let's do this. Let's start at the furthest end of the table with Robert. Robert, you just got out. We actually have some video that I want to, as we're talking, I'd like if James could pull that video up to kind of show. And in this video, this is basically just a lot of the post video of the day that he got out of jail here. So, Robert, why don't you start by telling us what your original sentence was? Where did you serve? How long did you serve?
My original sentence was possession with the intent to distribute a narcotic. And I served 5 years in Licking, Missouri, and 6 years in Mobley Correctional Center.
So that was a total of 12 years or 11 years there.
11 and some change.
Out of how
and
long?
I did Crossroads. I had a 22-year sentence.
Let me repeat that because I'm so used to having a mic on me that they couldn't hear me just then. So you served 11 years, and that was out of how many years?
22 years.
22 years was the total sentence. And you are only the second person in Missouri's history to be granted clemency. The first was Jeff, who we'll get to here shortly. So, Robert, tell us, what was it like? Tell us, what was it like working with the Canna Project? What was it like finding out that you were going to get out?
Working with the Canna Project was a beautiful thing. They came and embraced me and fought for me and talked for me and was out there for me. And at first I was like, I didn't think it was real, but then whenever I saw it was real, I was like, whoa. And then whenever I actually got clemency, it was unbelievable.
That
was amazing.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit more about, your time in jail, what before you met the Canna Project, were you actively trying to find a different way to get out? Or?
Yes. I was filing different things, staying in the law library, staying out of trouble, filing, getting denied, filing, getting denied, filing, getting denied.
Wow. And then I don't know if the video is still going here, but in this video so let me kind of tell everybody kind of what was happening here. So this is the day that you got out. The whole family came. We talked about it briefly earlier. This is your daughter there beside you in that picture.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was your daughter, and she was how old whenever you went to prison?
She was 4.
4 years old, and she
was 3.
Oh, 3. Okay.
She's 15 now.
15 now, so that's a long time to obviously, have a relationship with the father over the phone.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was hard trying to raise a kid over the phone, getting her first bike and she falling off and crying, and I'm like, oh, get back on, but I'm not there to put her on,
Man.
and going through homework with her and trying to keep her in school and trying to keep her away from boys and.
Oh, that's a lot to do when you can't actually be there physically. So, so back to this video here. You got out. We couldn't get any of the best video. The best thing that we saw that day was your actual. We had mentioned it earlier. You coming out of the jail and your whole family's inside this lobby of this prison. And they're singing gospel music as you're coming down the hallway, and then you embrace your daughter and you hold your daughter for 15 minutes while your family's still singing this Southern gospel music, and all these correctional officers are just sitting there, just straight laced, like they don't have a single emotional.
They were mad.
Body. Well, I mean, what was going through your mind that whole time?
I'm free.
I don't care anymore. Get me out of here.
I'm free. And I got to hold my daughter, and that was one of the most best feelings that I had in my life.
Yeah, man, me too. I didn't even get to hug y'all, but I was loving the moment myself. It was inspirational. It's amazing. So so now that you've gotten out, I believe there was a GoFundMe. Is that GoFundMe still up, or is it?
It's still up.
Still up. People can still donate to the GoFundMe.
Yes.
How do they find the GoFundMe? Can anybody give us that?
Check out the Canna Convict Project page on Facebook.
So it's on the Canna Project on Facebook and Instagram. The GoFundMe for Robert Franklin here. You can help him with his integration funds there. That's what we talked about a little bit earlier. One of the hardest parts is the hardest part is getting out. The next hard part is getting reacclimated, That takes a lot of stuff. It takes, getting your license. It takes getting back on your feet, finding a place to stay, getting a job, and all that takes time and money. And those are the two things you have a lot of time, but you've done a lot of time, but you don't have no money when you get out. Let's jump on over here. So, by the way, this is in the video there. If you're watching still on that, this Cocoa Dispensaries was very kind enough to, since they have a dispensary in Moberly, they were kind enough to allow us to come into their lobby, and they had donuts and treats and juice and drinks and all that. A nice little space because it was a nice little cool space to hang out there. It was only a few minutes away from his release. Obviously, we wanted to get you as far away as possible off those grounds. In fact, people at the grounds didn't even want us there. I don't know if I've told you this yet, but as we're coming up, we got your whole family has a pretty deep squad itself, and then there was the Last Prisoner Project. There was the Evolution Magazine. There was the Canna Convict project. There was all these people there with cameras. They wanted to capture this moment because, as we mentioned earlier, your daughter didn't know. And so we wanted to capture that moment, mainly because if people see moments like that, they'll be more willing to help with future people needing to get out. So, that's money, that's time, that's support. So if we could have caught that, but as we're rolling up, these officers are just saying, "What? You can't be on here with cameras. Get out of here!" And then at some point, they tried to kick me and Ricky Starling. Shout out to Ricky Starling. He's in the audience right here. They tried to kick us, Missouri Cannabis Network. They tried to kick us off the property. They told us we had to leave. They came out with more officers, and we were outside holding everybody's phones and cameras because they said we couldn't have them. And we're just outside holding them. And they told us that we weren't a part of the family. We had to get off the property. And so we got in my Jeep. We drove off the property all the way to the road, and we looked back, and nobody else was coming out. So we came right back. Came right back in there. And at that point, Chris Smith was walking out, and he's like, "Okay, the warden showed up. The warden said, it's okay, just no cameras and phones. We can all just check in, hang out in the lobby. They got to go through the security stuff." And thank God we went back because I was very blessed to have seen that moment. So let's go on to Seth here. Seth, when did you get out?
March 20th of 2020, right in the heart of the pandemic.
So we didn't even cover what that was like.
Oh, right, no joke. I couldn't even imagine. That situation.
What was your COVID situation?
I know. Go ahead and ask him because I got out right before it happened, and he got the punishment of
it. I thought
it.
you said you were in there during it.
Right. Yeah, it was right.
What was the COVID situation like in jail?
Well, my whole wing caught COVID. We was locked down 23 hours a day.
Solitary confinement because of COVID.
Because of COVID.
That's insane.
Got to use the phone for 10 minutes, got to take a shower for 10 minutes.
Wow. That is pretty, I don't like to say the F word, but it's pretty fucked up.
For how long did that last?
A month.
Over 14 days. The United Nations considers torture solitary confinement over 14 days.
I did not know that either. Well, so pretty much we're breaking our own rules against our own humans and our own population.
100%.
That's fantastic.
That is a thing.
So back to you. You got out before COVID. From what I've heard, you've had some pretty gnarly stories in prison as well.
Yeah.
What's a couple of the gnarliest ones?
When I had 23 years, so they put me in a level 5 penitentiary, and for a nonviolent crime. When you have over 15 years in the state of Missouri, you automatically get level 5. So that's $37,000 a year per person. 4 years, 100 and whatever it clocks out to, right?
Yeah.
To house a nonviolent criminal.
It's insane. It's a moneymaker.
Yeah, and then I went through a lot of different things. Like I said, I was in level 5 penitentiary. We went through a riot because of short staffing, a lot of different things. That was
like the prisoners took over riot?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Which side were you on?
I was on getting out of there the quickest.
Yeah, go find somewhere to
stay safe. It was super dangerous, you know what I mean? And when you're in a place like that, when people are really disgruntled, and I'm in a place with all killers. My cellie was a killer. Everyone I knew was a killer for a nonviolent offense. And the only thing I'm thinking about was the next day was Mother's Day, and I'm not going to be able to see my son for 6 months. It's a super bad deal.
Yeah.
Especially when it's for reasons that are out of your control.
Yeah.
And it's super sad how things go inside prison. And, man, it's tough. But luckily for people that are in there, their family needs to support them. especially on situations where they know that they're in the good, as far as, you know, I mean.
And here's the crazy part, you know, is especially during COVID, and I imagine we're probably going to see it again and go through potentially more of isolation to the masses. But it's like, if you're at home and you're so worried, this goes to a lot of people that got all depressed during the COVID. We all went through it. But if you're that worried, if you don't like isolation that much, jail is like times 2,000 compared to getting the chance to stay in your own home and be isolated.
So imagine being in 14 by 12 for 23 hours with another man and stuff, and then you're only allowed to shower 72 hours. It's a tough situation, you know, and it's something that, you know, you either live or, you know, you die.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like so many other things happen in there, you know, and it's just like, it's a growth experience, whether you look at it from good or bad. But, you know, like my son's mother, she committed suicide 2 years through, and it got me to the law library, and I knew I had to find something to get home to my son. And then at the same time, I was just constantly putting out good and trying to have people help me, and knowing that I wasn't in the wrong the whole time. And the Canna Convict project came into my life, and it was an amazing experience as far as like what she was offering. And I was just like, no way. And I was also doing my own work in the law library and trying to find motions, anything that I could do to get home to my son. And we came across something that was pretty good that we tried. And luckily on the first thing, it happened for real. It was amazing. I can't even explain how it all worked out. I knew it was there, and I knew it was going to work. It was definitely interpretation of the law to the fullest. And that's just how words go because of English. But so I got blessed with that, and you know, with him and the signatures and just seeing all the support that we had behind that. And that's just a whole another scenario of how things worked out, of how we got a release, and how we just had to do different things in order to see where we can get people out of this situation. It's really bad.
Yeah, well, it's beyond bad. It's there's levels to everything, and people don't even allow their minds to go to the levels of badness that's involved behind it.
Yeah, it's super sad.
By the way, James, play some of that video. Let's talk about some happy things now. Let's show some of the video of you getting that. No, we need to cover everything. There's good and bad to everything. If you don't cover both. Robert, because that was post-COVID, and at that point I was like, I don't know how to hug or shake hands anymore. What's going on here? So the video there that James has got that up, there's lots of hugs and happiness going on there, and hopefully that will continue with other people getting out. And Ricky Starling put this video together as well for the Canna Comic Project. You could probably find this maybe on Missouri Cannabis Network's Facebook page.
That was an amazing video. That song is awesome.
Yeah, we don't have the music playing, but thanks, Chris, for the waters. Appreciate that. We had a short break, so we weren't quite prepared. But anyway, let's. So there's lots of awesome hugs. Look at that. You can keep those hugs playing because that's a good way to.
That was a great day. There was a cold day that day when we got out, but I mean it was, and like the. Right?
No, yeah, you were freezing.
No joke, yeah. And that was the day. It was wild because that was the day of the pandemic. Like it was 2 days later, and they started shutting down the whole world.
I know,
that's right?
Yeah,
it was just
time,
it was
right?
insane.
2 days just before,
I really did for
really
real because I can only imagine how bad it was for him.
Yeah.
And the things that they pull and try to do for control is sad, you know. And it's and like I know what we use from family restrictions from. Visitation. You know, I mean, I got a visitation every week from my mother. She lived 30 minutes away. She brought my son to me every weekend. Right, I was a super blessing, and to not have that for so long just because of something, you know, and it's tough, you know, and
yeah, but you got through it, man.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Because you're strong, man. You're all strong guys here. You're all strong men.
It's a blessing.
Jeff, let's talk about you. So Robert was the second person that got clemency. You were the first one. And let's go. What was your release date?
I got out in 2015, September 1st.
September 1st in 2015.
I got busted December of 93 and went to jail in 94, May.
And then what was your original charge?
Possession with intent to distribute. It's acting in concert with possession.
Yeah.
And that's if you're there, you can be charged for the same crime. That's like if you all walk into a building together, 4 or 5 people walk in the building, somebody pulls a gun out and shoots, guess what? You're acting in concert. You could be charged the same way.
They put it on everybody.
Exactly.
They deal with it. They sort it out later with plea bargains.
Yeah. That's it in a nutshell, plea bargains.
It is too.
Yeah.
It is.
So you what year were you arrested?
I was originally arrested December of 93.
93, and so your original charge was.
Acting in concert to possess and distribute.
But your years, it was a life sentence, right?
Life sentence, exactly right.
You got the
Yeah,
three
so-
Three
strike.
strike.
That was
You
back
got
in
the
the
three-strike
that was
rule.
back in the 3-strike era. You
Right,
got-
they enhanced it with the 3-strike rule from a class B to a class A, and then turn around and give it a statute of 113, I think it was, or 112, which is no longer on the books, by the way, which made it a non-parolable sentence.
Wait, but you didn't find out that you didn't get because you were talking about this earlier. Tell that story about how you thought you had life in prison and you thought you were going to be able to get parole. Tell that story.
Oh yeah, the whole time I was sentenced by the judge verbally to a life sentence.
Yeah.
And
What's the life
When-
in Missouri?
they consider it 30 years for figuration purposes.
Yep.
But so I went to prison thinking I had a life sentence. When I got to prison, I got paperwork from the parole board telling me when I was supposed to go up and see them. Well, all the while I'm in prison, I'm watching my P's and Q's, trying to behave.
And how
you
many
know?
years is this into your sentence?
This is going about 10 to 12 years
Yeah.
into the sentence.
So you're getting to the 10 to 12. You're thinking, all right, parole's coming soon. I'm done.
Right,
a lot of
because
time here.
first time down, usually if you have to do 50%, and I'm looking at a 30% is how they calculate a life sentence of 15 years, I should be going up for parole, because normally they're going to turn you down the first time, put you in for a year, and they tell you, what they want you to do, any kind of program or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I figured it was about time they got me up there. So I wrote the parole board and found out he'd come back to with a statement as well. I don't know why you haven't been up here. You should have been up here already. So all the while I'm putting in a parole plan and everything else, and I get a letter back about a week later telling me that I didn't have to worry about putting a plan together because I didn't have parole. I was doing a life without the possibility of parole.
Oh man, imagine hearing that in jail.
Wow.
Where they say, "Oh, you thought you were going to get out this whole 12 years. You thought you were going to get out close to around here, but we decided it's not going to be an option ever again."
Yeah, you're right. It's that was a tough one. It about took me out.
I'm very just the strength it would take to get through that kind of stuff is it takes a lot.
Yeah. Fortunately, I had working in prison. I worked with the ITC program, which helped other guys that were hooked on a lot of bad drugs, done a lot of bad things,
Yeah.
and a lot of them got busted using cannabis, getting off the drugs,
I know, right?
which is really crazy.
That's a whole other conversation about how well it works for that.
But I did a lot of work with them, and I worked in a furniture factory. I got with a lot of youngsters that were coming in, a lot of them nonviolent. And some of these guys never had a job before, didn't even know how to work or show up for work or anything else. But I was able to talk to them and get with them and give them some advice. And fortunately, we were able to get a few of them out and keep them out.
Yeah. So you became sort of a mentor inside.
Tried to, right?
Yeah.
So tell me what I see you is.
It's intensive care, or was it the ITC?
ITC,
yeah.
Intensive Therapeutic
Community.
Community, right?
Yeah.
Intensive therapeutic community, that's a thing inside jail?
Yeah.
Right. It's actually a program that the convicts themselves, I'm talking about stone cold killers,
Yeah, it's tough.
put
It's
this
a tough-
program
it's a tough
together out of what they saw was needed from the yard. And it was working fantastic. They had a real high success rate for anybody that was getting out.
That's amazing that if you're taking correctional into your own hands because it wasn't
Inside
offered
of
to
it,
you.
yeah.
Exactly right. We had
Completely.
a assistant warden that helped us get it done, and we got it started, got it rolling.
It's a big program.
Then it was doing so good that the judges started sentencing people. You have to go through this program. You have to go through this program.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, did
And,
they pay you guys for it?
Yeah, I wish.
$15 a month. $15
we got
a
it.
month.
You can't go nowhere. You're stuck in the
$10 a
cell.
month.
Oh, you guys are doing great at correcting yourself.
$10 a month.
But it was worth it because some people got helped. Some guys got out
No,
and they stayed out.
it was beneficial for you too, because you needed it too, right?
Kept my sanity. For real.
Yes, 100%.
And that worked out well. But once they start getting sentenced to it, we all know if you're on hard drugs or any kind of drugs, if you ain't ready to quit, if you don't want to quit, there ain't a damn person or anybody or anything else that's going to tell you have to quit. You're not going to do it until you yourself are ready.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, some of the things that we taught. So
Sure.
it worked out well.
So you said that you were working, building furniture, right? That was your job in prison. And what was your pay for your normal day's work?
71 cents an hour, 72 cents an hour. I think.
72 cents an hour.
I was top
I made
grade,
25
top
cents.
pay.
I made 25 cents.
I was
was
top
less?
pay.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I welded. I welded
You
and I
weren't
did
I was
concrete.
teaching.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
running a factory. I went around all the lines
You
teaching people.
were the supervisor, so to speak.
I was
of
supervisor
the,
for the supervisor, right?
You were the top-notch guy making the rolling in the figures with 72 cents an hour.
72 cents. Yeah, they all thought I had it made.
I don't even think I made 25 cents. If I calculate it.
And on top of that, because we were talking about this earlier too, on top of that, they're not only making money off of you, they're also making money off of the stuff you make for them.
Yes, they
Oh
do.
yeah, and
Yes,
they make
do.
everything.
Everything.
Yep. Toilet
I'm
paper,
talking
they make
about-
everything.
Yeah, toilet paper, desk.
White T-shirts, they make everything.
You were making, so what
I've
was
done a
the-
lot of work that went into the Capitol itself. I mean, a lot of things that got broke there came in and I had to repair it and match the stains and stuff like that. So I mean, no matter
That's awesome.
what.
Yeah. So what would you made desks, like let's say you made how many desks?
I'll tell you
what
what.
would they sell the desks for?
I haven't been in any kind of office that has anything to do with the state that I almost want to get down and look and see if my name's on it.
Oh, it's all goes to the state first, so they're selling
There's that many of them. I mean,
because they can get a lot more money when they sell it back to the state.
Oh, right. Probably so, truthfully. Probably so.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, it's in the budget.
right.
the
Because they make
senators
so much
and the
money off of
representatives, every time
Shit,
every
$10
time
a
they
day.
get into office, they're able to take everything out of their office and redo it.
Right.
So every time there's an election, you got a whole new line of desks just for them.
Yeah.
And,
crazy.
whatever else, bookcases, the whole 9 yards. I mean, we even were doing kitchen cabinets because the guards could come in and order stuff and do that. I mean, we
Get their whole
we've
house
done it
done
all.
for
Oh yeah,
cheap
we've
on
done
cheap.
it all.
That's
Wine
it.
cabinets, kitchen cabinets.
That's awesome.
If we built it with wood, we built it.
It's truly a blessing when you're doing hard time, though.
Well, it keeps your mind
Yeah.
going, you know.
To work with your hands is amazing.
it's
I
your
mean, it
habits.
sucks that I mean, it's not even the time; it's the freedom of working.
routine.
Yeah, it truly is.
Time go
It's a
past.
freedom.
One of the guys I worked with that came in that never had any work experience whatsoever, and it was the second time back, and he was from Sedalia. And I grabbed him one day and threw him up against the wall and told him what it was all about and showed him a few things. And he sat down and he says, I don't want this life. I said, don't want you doing the same damn thing you're doing. I said, well, ain't that insanity? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different outcomes. Right?
That's the prison system.
You're right, that's prison system. And
Yeah.
he got out, doing great, got a business of his own. His son married my granddaughter. And they're doing fantastic, he's doing great. So that's,
It's fun
I look
stories.
at that and say, oh, damn, at least I got to accomplish something.
Yeah, you made the most of what you had. That's what you got to make the most of the cards that are given to you. And
But we still have a problem. We got,
Yes.
how many of our prisoners still in? That needs to come out.
yeah,
And
you
they
tell
need
me,
to come out.
do you know any figures? Like what's the
Well-
local or the national?
When I got out, it was, I think, about 40,000 prisoners for nonviolent. That's across the United States. That's federal and states
Yeah,
for nonviolent crimes.
40,000.
40,000,
for
and
life
a lot of
sentence?
them are doing life and life without.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's a
Now
bad
that don't
statistic.
count 20 years and 30 years, 22 years. That don't count that.
Yeah.
It's just life and life without.
That's it. The 40,000 is life or life without.
Exactly.
And they're all
that's
nonviolent cannabis vendors.
that's what it
sitting
was
there
back-
watching all this stuff happen.
when I got out. Right. It was.
It's a bad
kinda crazy.
statistic in the state of Missouri. In the state of Missouri, there's such a bad statistic. Like, I did so much research when I was in the law library, and the way that Missouri classifies prisoners, you can never truly know what their offense was.
There is no list.
There's
That
no
they'll
list.
let out.
Yeah, so like it's like possession with intent to distribute, manufacture, deliver controlled substance. That's such a broad term.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that I sold 20 pounds of marijuana or I got caught with some hash, right? It just says that I manufactured and delivered a controlled substance. So that's such a broad term as far as when you go to look for people, because it never states that they just sold marijuana, right? And that's why we need help with finding people, because we can't just go into the record books and find people that got caught with marijuana. It's not something that happens, right? It's so broad as far as the language, just so they can encompass everyone in this Class C, Class B, Class A felonies, that it's just a word of mouth thing, and people wonder why we ain't helping more people or why we don't know more people. It's because you truly is, when they're in the system and they're underneath a broad spectrum, unless it's their family that makes it happen, it truly can't happen because we can't find them. You know what I mean? It's like you get lost. And once I knew I had 23 years, I'm in a level 5 penitentiary for nonviolent offense, I'm like, they'll never see me.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is
They will literally
want you
never
to be
see
lost in
me,
the system.
right? I'm like, I'm so far out here, and it's like, man, I'm like, what do I got to do to make waves in order to be seen, right? So like, I know I got to do my own work. I know I got to be on my P's and Q's. I can't let the system pull me in farther, right? And so like, you just got to advocate to people that are in situations, even if it is something worse than a nonviolent offense. You know, try to do your best to be your best. I mean, because that's time that you have nothing but work on yourself, and you could truly become a better man, or it's easy to become a worse man in there.
Just one quick action of anger or being
Man,
forced into a corner.
Everyone's so
that
close
just
to being in the same
adds more
situations,
time to your
you know,
list.
yeah.
Exactly right, and that's a major problem. We get a lot of these young guys. I've seen them come in, and they might have 5 years or 10 years, and right away, some of these older guys or some of these guys, gang members or whatever, want to approach them, and they try to press them. Now, look, your family's going to send in some drugs. It's going to happen. You're going to send them here, and you're going to send them here, or else.
It's a bad deal.
And you either got to step up and do something about it, or family's going to send some drugs in, or you're going to be in the grave.
Yeah,
It's just that simple.
It's a bad deal.
that's
And you got to do things to protect yourself that you normally wouldn't do.
sure.
So we're training our non-violent people to go in and become violent so they can stay alive to get back out to live next to you.
Well, and like,
that was
see, the
pretty
sad thing
powerful.
is, like with the state of Missouri, I had 23 years of nonviolent criminal offense, and then just because I'm over 15 years, no matter what your offense is, you're considered a public risk because you have so many years because you want to escape.
Exactly.
Right, because since you have so many years, you have priority to escape, so you're level 5, right? Not even because you're violent or anything. So then automatically, I mean, from level 1, level 2, and level 3, like level 5 inmates they pay a certain amount of money more, the government
To keep them.
to keep them.
So it's
It's
in
an
their best
incentive.
interest.
It's incentive to find rules to put nonviolent criminals or someone that has so many years in a situation where they can make more money.
Yeah, so they're putting them in more danger, creating higher level of violent criminals.
Exactly
to make
right.
a little bit
And
more money.
I just talked to an old boy last night, and he told me they got level 2s, 3s, and 4s in the 5-level camp.
It's a bad deal right now.
So, you know, what kind of protection do they have? We got youngsters in there. We got kids in there 15, 16 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
They ain't dry behind the ears yet in some cases, and you get some of these stone killers in there.
Yeah,
and there's people that need to be in there. Don't get me
another thing,
wrong.
I'm going to announce this right now. In the state of Missouri, if a kid does not have, he's 18, if he does not have his high school diploma, he automatically gets sent to a level 5 penitentiary,
That's right.
where
What?
he has
What?
no
I
access
did not know
to,
this.
where he has no access for at least 2 years to be able to get his GED. That is for a fact. He automatically gets sent there, but then there's a waiting list to get on the GED list that he'll be stuck there no matter what for 2
Some
years.
level 5s don't even have.
Don't even have it.
For a while,
Don't
we
even
didn't have no
it,
teachers
man.
at all.
Right? Yeah, it's a bad deal. It's a money scam
Inmates
to the fullest.
Teaching inmates.
It's a money scam to the fullest.
Man, I want to go break something right
They-
now.
they-
Smash some TVs or something.
Right, I'm telling you, put a guy that I knew a kid that he was 18 years old. He stole his girlfriend some bad deal, and he went back and got his PlayStation and his iPad, and she reported it to him. And that kid ended up in a level 5 penitentiary for 2 years, and they treated him so bad. And he was a wrestler. He was a good dude, and I just seen him go through hell, just because he's nothing. You know what I mean?
Just because he's not educated enough, they're gonna make sure that they make sure they
Super sad.
tax those people the most.
Right.
What happened with that was back when I was in, we down there working the furniture factory. They come down. Anybody that doesn't have a high school diploma or GED is going to be laid in, and you'll no longer have a job until you have your GED.
Super sad.
But the only problem is they required everybody in to have a GED, and you're supposed to have one or a high school diploma for a parole or probation of any kind. The guards didn't have to have one.
Right, yeah. So the state of Missouri. So
I'm serious as hell.
Guards don't need to be as
Now,
smart.
that law has been changed. We made them change that law.
I don't know if it's true or
Somebody
not.
understand.
I heard that in the state of Missouri, every inmate that they get a GED to, they get paid $10,000.
I wouldn't doubt that.
They get paid.
Yeah, they get paid $10,000.
They
They
get
get
so
paid
many-
10 grand
if
for
you
every GED that they
graduate
get. So
so
that's
many
why they
tests
put them in
every year.
situations
Yeah, make 'em-
that they have to have it.
Scared the shit out of them to make sure that we can educate them and then make the money off of them on another level.
Right, but
It is a
then,
thing.
then
It is a
again,
thing.
I got a friend of mine who was 64 years old working down a furniture factory. He had a life without. He'd been down there for 20 years, and they come and fired him because he didn't have a GED. He couldn't read or write, but he could sure figure out that furniture and put it together right. And they took his job away from him. About 4 weeks later, committed suicide. They had nothing left. So you come into shit like that,
Yeah.
and that's prison.
The system.
That's
It's a prison.
Man, it is.
It's
you
a
see
bad-
people get
It's not a correctional, is it?
hurt and cut up over a damn Suzy Q,
Yeah.
over a cake.
Stabbed.
Yeah, and
Stomped out.
think about it, we're all nonviolent criminals, and we've seen bad stuff in the system.
I've seen a couple of
know?
riots.
Yeah.
People had knives taped to their hand.
Swords.
Yeah.
I've been through a few of them.
What do you do? What did you do? Do you just go and
Well, you know, the best thing you can do is back up against the wall, and the first one that
Right,
comes close to you,
yeah.
start swinging.
Oh, just know that
You
you got
ain't
good
got no
guys.
choice.
Surround yourself
Yeah.
by good people. Try to find good people in there. You know
Hang-
what I mean?
hang out
Like,
with the-
There are good people in bad places. You know what I mean? And like, you got bad situations that happen to them.
There's a lot of
you know?
good people in there,
Yes, there is.
and they need to
Completely.
come out.
Yeah.
You know,
And you know, I work on the nonviolent side because I believe all the nonviolent prisoners should be out. It's not a place for them. But there's some violent ones in there that were violent when they were young that are
man.
60 and 70 years old now that don't belong in there anymore neither.
Still,
Yeah, I mean,
still
there's
charging,
certain
still
age where you
charging
lose
$37,000 plus all their fees and everything
They
to the
dying
system.
in there. They won't even let them out.
They can't even get out of
At
bed
some
in a lot of
point,
cases.
you could have started off with just the awfulest person, but at some point, you're just so wrung over the coals, and you get to that age in the 60s and 70s where it's like, what the point? Why is he still in here? What kind of threat does this guy have anymore?
It doesn't make
right.
any sense,
It
right?
doesn't, yeah. And there's a statistics that once an inmate that's served over 20 years gets over 60, their chanceabilities of recommitting a crime of the same severity is less than 5%. Like it's so small.
their statistics.
It's so small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what's that guy? Why are you going to spend another $40,000 on that guy for another 5 years until he sees the parole board? It's $200,000. Come on now, you guys can pay some teachers.
Plus,
You know what I mean?
plus
Like-
the medical.
Yeah, the medical is the killer, and I love it when guys are in there sucking them dry. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, let them know, because hopefully they get us out. It's people like us that were in here that they spent so much money on over so many years that actually made ways for them to realize that why are we doing this, and they still don't see it, but hopefully they see it sooner or later.
Oh, they're so blind
You know
as
what I mean?
shit
Like,
most of the time.
man, it's just a money scam.
Here's what's really crazy. All of our prisoners that are in there for nonviolent offenses, cannabis. I went in for cannabis. 1/8 of an ounce I had in my pocket, which made me guilty for
Eighth
what
of an
other
ounce.
people were doing.
1/8 of an ounce. Did you hear that, everybody?
But
James, by the way, the production guy, just said I just bought that on the way here from a licensed dispensary, and you
After
were in
doing 20
life in prison for the same amount. This is
He's
just
got one in
after
his hand.
doing
He's got an eighth in his hand.
22 years, and almost 22 years in prison, I paid a few dollars. I went to see the doctor, of course. I've got legitimate. I'm completely legal. I was able to be able to buy the first legal cannabis grown or sold in Pettis County, about 2 miles from where I got arrested.
oh wow,
All right.
that's some serendipity shit right there. That's amazing. That it's just we've come a long way, but we've barely scratched the surface.
So we still
at the
got
same point.
a long ways to go though.
Yeah, we do.
And you know what, I'm gonna say something that's really sad that's been on my mind for a long time since I met this man right here personally. And when I figured out the day that the governor signed this man's release for clemency, governor writing his signature on this man's paper for his release, and then he gets out and he's still on paper for 10 years. Are you kidding me?
on parole for 10 years.
On parole for 10 years.
Are you kidding
They're making
me?
me see him every week.
Every week.
He
you
got-
to report to your parole
By the
officer?
way, to let your
Yes,
parole
this
officer,
is
they're not in
ridiculous,
there. You can't
people.
get in
This
trouble.
is ridiculous.
So
The governor signed the man home. Like I couldn't believe that when I found that out. I got lucky. I
Yeah.
mean, the way my situation was different, but even if I went to the same, like you would think he should be free.
Should be.
So what do we do? What do we do for that? I mean, should we get Governor Parsons on the show and see what he says?
You can holler at him, please, because we can talk all day.
Yeah,
But
well, you-
you know, I mean, the signature should allow that man his true freedom, and like I think it's ridiculous that
Yeah.
this man does not have his true freedom after serving 12 years.
I mean,
and taking
especially
free.
as
You know what I mean?
involved as
Get
he
the
is with the
fuck
cannabis
outta
industry. People probably don't know that. but
Yes,
he's very
right.
involved with the cannabis industry. So it was almost like, here, I'm going to make this look good on me. And by the way, fuck you for 10 more years. Sorry for all the F-bombs. I don't normally do this, but this is
Man, dude.
an emotional experience we're going through. Man, this is all,
You
it's
know,
all
buddy.
completely messed up.
Fortunately, I never had a set of years that I had to do parole, but I was supposed to be on parole for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But my parole officer in 2 years told me, I'm getting you off. You don't belong on parole.
All right,
So it can be done. Just do what you're supposed to do, and they'll get you out. I mean,
Yeah.
I went across the country to different venues. I can't tell you how many places they had jars and jars of marijuana around, and I come in and sit down. I'm telling the parole officer, hey man, they had this, they had this, they had this. I didn't smoke none.
We just
But he knew I was going in advance. Whatever I did, tell him in advance, let him know, ask. That's the easiest way to stay out of trouble with a parole officer. I even went out of the country on parole. So it can be done. Just watch your P's and Q's.
And give me his number too, and we'll see what we can make, what I can say about it.
Cannabis community
Yeah, no.
can get behind.
Oh yeah,
this
we
issue.
we need to.
All make some noise.
By the way, Joni, nobody can hear you, so at home, Joni was going on a rant here, a very good rant.
We've got a couple ballot initiatives coming
Man.
up. We got legislators.
So I wish I can repeat all this for the audience so they can be a part of this conversation too. But she's basically saying that we could change the world just
yeah,
few
we all have
things at a time.
we all have constituents. We all have 1,000 friends on Facebook. We can all share stuff to let them know more about what's going on. We have to be more aware. You know what I mean? We have to be more aware of who we're voting for, and we have to be more aware of putting in their ear. I mean, they have an office, and you can call them. Every representative in the state of Missouri, you can get in their ear and let them know that you have 1,000 friends on Facebook, that you're about to drop a bomb on them, and let them know I'm not going to vote for you because you ain't doing what we asked, or you're not doing what you said you were. You know what I mean? We have to be more powerful with our voice and our vote.
I'll tell you.
Period.
Exactly right. And that's what got me
Period.
out.
You know what I mean? And like with our voice and our signatures and how many pounds of paper that got set on that man's desk got this man free.
We had
You know what I mean? That's a serious ordeal. You know what I mean? That signatures and a little bit of work and people putting their time in freed this man to his family. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous once we get together and they realize the amount of power that we have, what they will do in order to keep their positions in power. You know what I mean? Because truly we have the power and we just have to take our power back, you know, and like and that is a perfect example with this man and getting home and this man, you know, I mean, I took my power back. Me and Christina, we went to the judge and we asked for my freedom. I mean, we just have to ask and we have to know that we have power. We have a lot of power in our words, our thoughts. You know, we are powerful people. We cannot let these people overdo us, for real. We can't.
You have to empower yourself first, and then find other people who are doing the same, and then get together.
Know that we have constituents, and our voice matters, and that your vote does matter, truthfully.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That's right. It's got to be the votes. But that's what got me out of signatures. I had like 750,000 signatures that Show Me Cannabis at the time had printed out in boxes and took up and put on the governor's desk. Here.
Let this man out.
Okay. They actually had to open up an office with telephones to answer the telephone to so many people calling in for me. Okay.
Yes.
That's what works. Yeah. That's what works. Letters. They claim that letters are even better than the call-ins,
right?
Because if you're going to take time to write a letter, you're going to take time to go down and vote.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that's where our power is right there, people, is to vote.
Preach it.
I hate to have to get involved with government, but when the government's screwing us around,
sometimes
we got to get involved and straighten it out because they're working for us.
Yeah.
And we paid them to lock us up.
Yeah.
Right.
Give it
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. And sometimes you got to give it back a little harder than they gave it to you, too, just to make sure that the message is across.
Truthfully,
right.
man, like we have power, people, and we just got to use it.
And we got to register to vote to do it. I know a lot of us don't want to register. You're
was
afraid
the
you're going to
same
be
way.
called for court.
I'm
and
I'm
this
a
and that.
felon. I can vote.
Well,
you know what I mean?
yes,
Like,
you can.
they
That's
took
how
my
they
right
do
away from me.
No, you're absolutely wrong. I'm a felon and I can vote.
After so many years, though.
No, as soon as you come off a probation or
Missouri?
parole, you go down and get registered. The day you come off.
Yeah, you better do it.
Serious?
Yeah,
Damn.
right.
You
I
better do
did
it.
the day I got off.
I
And
didn't know
everybody
that.
needs to do that that's been locked up.
That's right.
Go register and use your power.
In Missouri, they can.
Go
That's
to these
amazing.
places where your people are talking, where they're telling you, where the congressman telling you he's doing this and that. Guess what? In Missouri, when they tell you they're going to do something, it's a verbal contract, and you can hold them to that. It's just we don't do it.
Question.
No. We must do it. And it's people like you that are going to teach the youngins to do it just like you were doing in jail. And doing right
That's
now.
what's got to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to hold all of our representatives and senators and our governors. If he says he's going to do something, damn it, why don't we get up there and say, you said this, why ain't you doing it? If you don't, we're going to sue you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way to get
Lose
it.
your
Just
job.
reverse it right back.
Lose your job.
Bring it right back.
You hit
Bring it
them in
right
the
back to 'em.
pocketbook, and they're going to start changing their minds.
I
Yeah.
promise you.
Because that's what's happening is they're getting stuff put in their pockets by somebody. We all know that. Follow the money. Well, I think it was $87.37 a day to keep me in for 22 years. Same thing to keep
Right?
you in.
Yeah.
You too.
Ridiculous.
So we have a quick question here. I am pretty sure you could have answered this by the reaction of that last comment from Jeff. But what is it like watching the legal business now?
You know, when I was in, what really sucks is you have to do your own legal work unless you get all kinds of money. So you got to go through all these books and learn this and that just to be able to put something in, because they got so many different rules. You can only have so many letters. You got to do this, you got to do that. It's got to be right or they won't accept none of it. And it's got to be all on time.
Right.
The problem is, time you learn how to do legal work, everything's passed. You can't file anything anymore. And most of the lawyers that are working for your so-called free lawyers, they ain't doing it. They're going to take one or two things and put it in there and pass it through, and they did their job
they're
according to
just
them.
for the dollar.
Anything important doesn't get in there.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I ran in that situation a lot.
So-
as far as like the post-conviction,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Post-conviction is a tough situation, but as far as I think what you was asking was like as far as the legal industry now.
Yeah, like what is it like watching the legal industry now with all the
For this right here, for this right here.
It's so fantastic, except I wish more middle-class people, I wish it was open to more middle-class people to be able to get dispensaries and things like that instead of just the rich.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, that's what it looks like to me. Something went wrong in that bill, and no bill is absolutely perfect. We know that. But,
it's a movement forward.
We can change it around. It is moving forward.
It is moving forward.
But it's like taking 3 steps forward and 2 back. But at least we got the one step.
We got the one, yeah.
I think the hardest part,
we're just going to keep going.
Obviously, I don't want to condemn anybody, but there's a lot of dots that are connected within the same groups that cause you guys to be in the situation you're in, the same groups that are a part of the industry now.
Exactly right.
Those don't want to be connected at all. So the important part is to make sure that we connected enough to make sure the change happens, whether we can or can't take the license, or can't take the industry, or keep them from being a part of the industry, but we can make sure that they correct some of the stuff that they were involved with a long time ago.
I want to be involved in it, and since that I was involved in it illegally,
I know.
I can't get involved in it illegally.
It's horrible. It is horrible. You know what I mean? We're felons. We are felons, and we are not allowed in the industry. There is a situation there that needs to be fixed.
If I remember
and
right in the
I'm
law,
a felon for medicine. You know what I mean?
Once you're offered probation and parole and have no further commitments with the state, if I remember right, after 5 years, you can start getting involved in the industry.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous. It is.
I'm 68 years old.
You know what I mean?
It's just enough time.
Where the hell are they going to leave me?
For the cash grab and for them to get out before they're going to sell it.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
you know, one of the big things we haven't talked about is these guys getting out. What they have to go through, money-wise, and their everyday needs.
Yeah.
And people out there can fix
social
that.
equity.
Exactly right.
Social equity is
but
serious deal.
Not just getting out into things they need, but jobs.
Yeah.
Now, they're held back. Some of these guys are young. They're getting out when they're 19, 20, 22 years old, and they need to be able to get a decent job so they can raise families that they do have. And they're restricted from being able to do that because they're now a felon from cannabis.
Yeah. And then this is one of the largest growing industries, the largest providing of new jobs and employment across the world, especially in the nation.
100%.
And
you can't work in it.
And you cannot be a part of this life-saving opportunity of having an income because you were doing it in an unregulated time.
It's not
exactly
so much.
Right.
It's not so much that I could go get a job in the industry right now because of the Canna Convict project and what they have given us the opportunity to do. I can go get a job and be a trimmer, and I can go do a few smaller things. But for me to actually go and start my own cannabis industry, my own dispensary and stuff like that, the fine print is stopping me completely.
There'll be a breakthrough at some point. So you guys are already you're already on the track of empowering yourself by coming on shows like this, by having these conversations with people, by mentoring people that are either going through it or have just came out of it or whatever the situation is. And the more of these events you go to and represent what everything you're saying tonight, everything we've talked about tonight, as many of these events you can go to, Jeff, you know this, as many of these events you can go to, at some point there'll be a breakthrough and they'll be like, oh, that's our CEO. You know, like at some point that will happen. It's just a matter of like continuing to empower yourself to be the next person that's going to change that and open that up as an option for you.
That's true. Yeah, you got to keep pushing. We have to keep pushing. I mean, imagine how far, like when I got sentenced in 2016, how far it's came in 4 years. 5 years now, I guess. 5 years. In 5 years, you know, I remember when I was getting in trouble, I'm like, I'm like, okay, I'm so close to like legalization or something where they're going to give me a break on my sentence.
Yeah, no.
Right now, it's like, nah, they still gave me 23 years.
In fact, they're keeping you there as long as possible so they can get the dollar bills off of it before you can even try to get a chance to be involved with it.
Right. Yeah, and then like the same thing, like medical happened when I was there, and I was, I was loving it. I knew it was going to be a blessing for me, and it was going to help my situation only for a perspective idea of opening people up like this instead of this. So I knew, I was like, man, okay, I'm only waiting to bide my time, hoping that just the publicity, everything's going to help. But then like guys that like with Roberts and his, that got served the 3-strike rule and such like antiquated laws that are holding these men down, and it's just it's stuff for change. Change is tough in the system, and like we really got to keep pushing for real.
Very slow.
It is so slow, and like with the P&P thing that Christina said earlier, and like I'm a big advocate of that. And as far as the gray area, I mean, when I was in prison, they was counting me as a citizen of Missouri, and when they passed that law, every citizen of Missouri got the right to medical marijuana. Right, because I was in the census, like they counted, you're counted in this, whatever county you're in.
Yeah.
You're counted as a citizen there because you're living there.
Can't vote.
Yeah, right. But that's still the gray area, right? The gray area, but it's like, if you guys are giving me the right to count me, then I have the right to my own personal use.
I should have the rights to the laws you provide to everyone else.
Exactly.
That's a person.
They should have collected all the taxes when we went to the store. Every time we went to canteen, they should have collected the taxes.
All right, we're getting short on time, you guys. We have a last question or two here. Keep them coming in. We'll keep going as long as you guys are asking questions. But next one says, what needs to be included in any adult use initiative? Jeff, since you collected the most signatures in the original, what's your answer to that?
I think we should have a expungement, and anybody that's in prison, county jails, or any kind of charge for cannabis charges should be dropped immediately as soon as it's passed. That's what should be on initiatives. I hope they are.
Can I get a woo-woo?
Right. And that sums it up for real. Yeah. That sums it up, truthfully.
But it's not just in the state here. We also need it.
Oh, yeah, federally, of course. But they're going to slow roll that through the whole dollar bill conversation we've already had. But here locally, so adult use initiatives are coming out. I don't think there's any bill that I've seen so far or that's coming out that I haven't really read through all of them, but I don't think anybody's going to go for the full expungement thing. So we're talking about, it is. It's coming. They have to collect signatures, right? And so that costs a lot of money. You're paying a lot of money, and so to get the investors who have the most money to pull off something like this, they're still on the stigma side of maybe being controlled by the prison system's chain of command, whatever that is, or the political side of that.
It's all about money all the way around.
So what the best advice that I can give everybody is that it's read through everything very carefully, like a fine-tooth comb. You need to know what you're voting for. There's going to be lots of bills coming up. So if you care about conversations like we're having right now, read those bills in a way that you make sure that this is not about getting more weed out to people. This is about resetting the system that's been overdue.
Exactly right.
So make sure the language you want in those bills is in there, at least to compare it in that way. Read them in each and compare them, and who has the best part of what that could be.
That's it. And remember, I don't think there's a bill ever wrote that everybody's going to like every part of. Some of it you ain't going to like. Some of it you're going to love. What you got to do is pick out the best. But we got to have something put in shape
once they're in there
to get our people out and get things done around here.
Yeah. Well, guys, any last comments? Anything else you want to say? Robert, any last comments from you that you want to say to anybody?
Get all the POWs out, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get them all out.
Immediately.
Yeah, man. Jeff, any last comments?
I'm just thankful to be able to be here.
Right.
Yeah, it feels good to be here.
And it wouldn't be this way if it wasn't for all the people out there that did the things, that wrote letters, that called, that signed things, that came up and marched around the Capitol and went in to talk to the senators and the representatives. That's what it took to get me out. And you done it for me. That should have been impossible, or I thought it was. And as bad as I was fighting, I still thought it was impossible. But it happened because you all made it happen all the way around.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Let's do more.
Yeah,
Let's get everybody out.
And that's the if you believe in karma and you can't go to jail and empower yourself without believing in that.
Holy
right?
smokes.
So if you believe in karma, that stuff will come right back to you if you get out and do stuff like that. I promise you that.
Perspective, perspective.
Any last comments from you, Seth?
Oh, I appreciate everyone that viewed in today and just spread the word of what we're doing here. Share, let people know, your constituents, all your friends, we have power. We got to take it back and just let people in bad situations be home to their families, because laws can be dangerous and they can be great. Just make sure that you know them well.
Yeah.
I gotta get one more thing.
Oh, you can do it. Yeah.
See right here, Canna Convict.
Right. Yeah.
It takes money.
Donate.
It takes money,
Donate.
people. It
That's
takes
right.
money.
Donate
Please
money.
donate whatever you can.
Yeah. Put money on commensaries. Donate
Yes.
to the organization. Donate your
my
time.
goodness.
If you don't have money, guess what? You
Dude,
got time,
Time,
right?
that's
You got
right.
time.
Can I give a shout
It
out?
don't have to
one time
be
real
money. It
quick?
could be
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I had a
It could
friend.
be a letter.
I had a friend because of the story that Christina put out in the magazine. I had a guy, Andrew Harris, contacted me, became one of my good friends when I was gone. Sent me books, commissary, letters, emails. Became a best friend of mine while I was there. And I'm like, man, this guy is a 40-year-old version of me. And like how well I got to know him, and how it was such a blessing to have that. That man actually, man. For my son, for Christmas, he asked me what my son wanted. He got a Ronaldo jersey and some kind of robot for him, and he sent it to him, and he put it in my name.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
he sent me books, and that's how I knew the man was great. Because when he sent me the book, he sent me 2 books, and this man, it was one of my favorite books that I told people they should read, and he actually sent it to me, and I was like, wow, what a coincidence that is. And I passed it around, and just to get that love from people that I didn't even know this man, and he just seen my story and knew he was in the same predicament as I was, could have been, I guess, when he was younger, and just he was a father and had feelings for it. And man, it was so helpful to have a person like that behind my back and just looking out for me. It was amazing.
Yeah. So back to the conversation of who knows, there may be another lockdown, but we all know how that was for the general public. You guys are, you were in prison, so people in prison are going through it on a higher degree, much more difficult degree than what you can pity your party with. But you can also take care of both those situations by creating a pen pal situation. Like if you're lonely at home,
man.
if you're tired of sitting at home alone, you're getting bored and tired of looking for things to do, and you're just so
Talk to someone,
mind drained by watching too much TV, then why don't you sit down and write a freaking letter to somebody that needs your attention, because you need it yourself too.
It helps tremendously.
Man, it was amazing, for real.
Sure was.
He's a great friend of mine today, and it was just really neat. And I'm blessed because of the story that Christina put out that day, and he read it, and friend for life.
Nice.
Friend for life.
So lots of things you could do at home. You guys, is everybody? You guys, any last comments? I could take it away if we want. For good, everybody good.
Thanks
All right.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Hey, no, thank you guys. How about a round of applause for our guests here on the show tonight? You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching at home. I want to say a big thank you to the Canna Comic Project. You guys know all the ways you can help from here. Go to the website, be a pen pal, donate money, donate time, collect signatures, lots of things you can do. Thanks so much for all of our guests tonight. I want to say thanks to our sponsors, Flora Farms. Thanks so much. We had a great show from their cultivation facility a couple weeks ago. That's still up on our Facebook page if you want to go check that out. They also are going to have a full insert in our August issue that comes out tomorrow that has all their strains, our first insert in the magazine. So make sure you pick up the new August issue as it comes out across the state tomorrow. And then also thanks to MCIA, our longest show-running sponsor. We've got a really exciting show coming up next month with them. We're going to be traveling to Oklahoma to a cultivation facility and talking about their adult use initiative. It's a free bill, no caps on the licenses type of bill situation. I believe they have a little bit in there about expungement with the grants and such, but we'll check out. We'll talk more about that and what that looks like. And then Elevate Holistics, thanks for sponsoring the show as well. That's pretty much all the sponsors. Thank you at home for watching the show. Thanks for all your questions. If you like this show, if you want to see more of this content, well, the best thing you can do for us at home is to share this, like it. Make sure all your parents, family members watch it, whoever else, and spread it to your friends. The more people, the more eyes we get, the easier it is for us to bring more sponsors to have shows like this. So it's up to you at home to continue it. And thanks to James with Level Up AV and Kat with Cat King Films, the production crew making it all happen. They are the backbone of the show. I couldn't do it without them. Thanks for watching at home. We'll see you next show next Thursday. Peace.
Everybody give a big wave.